Allen, welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you, like a legitimate, honest to God guest who, you're a podcaster just like myself. You've got a phenomenal podcast, the World of Lifting podcast. And more importantly, you're a strength athlete and one that is absolutely killing it. So you want to start off by giving your resume, your strength resume?
Sure. So, resume wise, I've been powerlifting for about 5 years. I discovered the sport in the summer of 2016 during a transition year. Moving from different sports, I decided to focus on barbell sports, um, and particularly fell in love with it when I was able to progress rather quickly. As you see now, uh, I was able to squat, 500 when I was about 16 years old. Uh, Bench press 300 at 18. Well, that's not really that impressive, but
Yeah, no,
my
throw
my
it, throw it out there.
yeah, my resume now is 585-pound squat, 325-pound bench press, and a 545-pound sumo deadlift. Uh, and yeah, I just love it. Strength is like if you've seen any of my posts on the Instagram, you'll see, it was this primal human thing. You were more respected if you were physically stronger. Military qualifications, working on a fishing boat, just like the Iceland guys. I'm sure you shared that post on
Yep.
your story, where they had to lift stones, so they were able to qualify to work on a fishing boat. So strength is very near and dear to me. And I'll probably do it for the rest of my life. Yeah.
No, that's phenomenal. Those numbers are crazy. Do you have are you willing to share your body weight?
Yeah, my body weight is right now is 190.
Okay, so 190, you're squatting 585, you're benching over 300 pounds, which is really phenomenal. And then your deadlift was, what was that again?
It was 545.
545. That's really interesting. Your deadlift being lower than your squat. Do you think that there's something to do with your geometry of your legs? Because I personally was deadlifting, you know, I'd say about 25% more than my squat back when I was able to do those movements. So do you find that it's your geometry or is it your focus? Like why would you have that difference?
Yeah, when you see most lifters, it's always the deadlift that's going to be stronger, typically because you have more muscle groups in action anyway. And but for me, it was my body type. Like I started off the same way. My deadlift actually my deadlift was higher than my squat, eventually evened out. And I was like, okay, which one is going to get higher? And then eventually my squat just took over. My technique is very upright. So my legs are my femurs in particular are very short. So my range of motion isn't really that much anyway. So I stay pretty upright, go down and up, and it's literally there. So yeah, basically just body type. That was the reason why I was able to get such a high squat in the first place.
And
But yeah, I try to keep.
you don't pull any conventional, right? You're a sumo only deadlifter.
I pulled conventional at my last mock meet.
How'd that go?
It was good. It was a 495.
495. Holy
Yeah,
shit,
yeah,
man. And
yeah.
that was a mock meet. So you're definitely not, peaking all the way up there.
That was legit peak. Like we did a full on meet prep for it,
Oh,
but
okay.
it was just because my sumo, for some reason, sumo just didn't work during the prep, so we just had to throw it out and just start with conventional.
Sure.
But yeah,
So
yeah, it
you're
was
you're
495.
clearly stronger on sumo. I know I was much stronger on sumo deadlifting than conventional. I I actually found out from needing hip surgery that my just literally the geometry didn't allow me to get into position for conventional. Like I had, my labrum in my hips was like literally getting crushed every time I'd get into position. And so I was like, well, no wonder the sumo feels comfortable. It's literally not crushing part of my body. So it's cool to see that, it seems like sumo. It's weird though. People don't have like respect for it. Why do you think that is? Like I know some people are like, oh, it doesn't really count, lower range of motion, whatever.
Yeah, that's the typical thing because you look at a sumo deadlift, it already looks a little bit strange, right? Your legs are very very wide, and then on top of that, if you're deadlifting heavy, you have a deadlift bar. The bar will whip even harder, so the range of motion is even less. So yeah, the typical thing you'll see is it doesn't count, less range of motion, and only conventional deadlifts are what count. But we don't lift for those people, So we
It's true.
we we just do it for the competition. If it counts in competition, we're cool with it. But the sumo deadlift is interesting because it is definitely less taxing on your body
Yes.
compared to a conventional deadlift. You are using less range of motion, but then the technique is different because when you look at a conventional deadlift, you tend to be able to grind it out. You can grip and rip
Yep.
like pretty good with a conventional deadlift with no much consequence. But if you do that with a sumo, you might get thrown out of position. You
Right.
want to be able to pull slack well. The hip position. There's like a whole thing you got to do with sumo before you even. It's something that you have to respect. Sumo is very technical. Conventional, I'd say, is more brute strength. Even though there are very technical conventional pullers, but the whole nonsense that sumo doesn't count, it counts. It's just and you can deadlift more with it too, so it's good for your ego, right?
Yeah, it definitely feels good to the ego, but for me, it's always felt better on my body. So I've gone with that. I was, these are lower numbers, but at a body weight of, it was 160. I think it was a little bit lower than that at the time. I pulled 475 as a max sumo in a gym. So a regular, whatever the gym bars are.
That's
That was
good.
with, I don't know if I had straps at the time. I might have was just pulling, mixed grip and just, that's what I was just doing. I love working out personally. It came from a rock climbing background. So pulling motions are definitely my dominant motion. So like, I'm kind of inspired when I'm talking to you about your bench, even though, proportionally it seems like a lower number, but that's phenomenal. You said 325. What would you say for somebody who's, right now I'm currently 170. What would you prescribe as a movement to add or something to consider to improve my bench? I really do want to get over that 300 mark without, fluffing up to like a heavy
Oh,
bulk.
what is your bench press now?
Right now, I hit 275 before I tweaked my shoulder in September, and I've just been kind of testing it out, and I've switched over to a lot of incline stuff.
Wow,
To
it's September, so almost a year now.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It
Well,
was a really bad tweak because I came back kind of very excited from COVID, and I was like, all right, let's
uh,
go. So then each time I feel mostly recovered, and I'm sure I know a lot of people can relate to this. Like the ego kicks in a little bit, and you're like, hey, I'm recovered. Let's try to shoot for something heavy, and let's stop playing around with this lightweight. So what would you suggest in terms of other than, I mean, like right now I'm inclining a lot with incline dumbbells. What would you prescribe as a way to improve my flat bench?
so my interview with Ed Cohen, for those who don't know who Ed Cohen is, the greatest powerlifter of all time.
Yes,
I,
yes.
I had the once in a lifetime great opportunity to interview him. So he talked about accessory work, and he said that where's the bar? No, the hell did he say? He's like, your back is making contact with a lot of the lifts. So bars on your back's on the bench press. You're using the back on the deadlift. He's like, build your back. So he's like, he always had really heavy barbell rows, Pendlay rows, dumbbell rows, whatever row you can do, seal rows, and building the surrounding muscles. So overhead press, incline is very good as well. And just adding variation to my bench press. That was one of my biggest mistakes. I was only competition style bench pressing, which is like, you can only get so far doing that, with an arch and everything.
Right.
So you want to be able to get different movements, like maybe a tempo, right? Go down slower, maybe a 3 count, maybe pause. You can do pause work. You can do banded work, resisting against bands or chains. You can do working on the triceps. You could do like what's it called, a J press? Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
It's a J.
There's the
One of
so,
those.
so you're saying prescribe more, differentiation, because right now I'm pretty religious about my workout routine. It's very consistent. So you're thinking adding a new movement instead of considering just, more volume or intensity.
Well,
You,
also
you find
depends
that
on
that works?
it also depends on frequency of bench press and the program that you're using. So, like, how often are you bench pressing?
I'm doing a pressing day once to twice a week. Usually
Once.
it usually hits twice a week, depending on where my rest day falls.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah. So Yeah, it also depends. Some people bench like I bench right now three days a week.
Okay.
Uh, I also had it was a 2 day a week. Uh, good friend Connor was coaching me before. Now I have a different coach, but right now it's 3 days a week. It also um yeah, it's all about variation really because you want to target those different muscles because when you're arching, it's like the range of motion sometimes is cut a lot, so you want to be able to manipulate a lot of those things as well, like feet up bench press, you know, and also things to work on your arch too because arching, everyone demonizes the arch too,
Yeah,
but I
I
yeah
try to flatten out my arch on training days, higher volume, lower weight. So I'll use a flatter position. I've never done feet up benching. There's this 50 to 60-year-old. I don't know. I don't really talk to him other than a little fist bump when I walk in and see him in the gym. But he's this older Asian man, and he does like a guillotine press, and but he does a guillotine press up to like 185 pounds. I've seen him throw a 195, and it just I've asked him about his shoulder health, and he says, "No, I'm healthy," because he swims. And so I've because of him, I've considered swimming for mobility of the shoulders. But short of that, like I know that feet up pressing, I see a lot of guys doing it. They all bench a lot more than me, so maybe I should consider something along those lines.
yeah because
But
the bench press is a whole body lift. You know, you're
mhm,
not just using your chest, using your back, using your triceps, using your chest, your legs as well. So when you take out the legs part, you got a whole like it's like bench pressing from a canoe in water. It's very unstable. So you got to be able to work a lot of the stabilizers, and in turn, it will probably help you bench press in terms of the max weight as well. So
sure.
yeah,
Speaking of like lack of mobility or lack of stability, have you tried those bamboo bars? They're bamboo and they you often hang. I know Mark Bell is a huge fan of it. You know what I'm talking about, right? It looks like
yeah,
a piece of bamboo and it has rings on the ends that you could then put bands and then hang kettlebells on them.
right, yeah. I've tried it before. Yeah, only like once or twice though.
What are your thoughts on that style of training? In
Yeah, it's
term,
like it's like another variation type of thing, right? It's like you that 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 bar you will shake uncontrollably, like unbelievable. Like you can't bench press fast at all with it. So you really have to go like it probably takes you like maybe like 20 seconds to complete one rep, like from how I did it, because one little like positioning to the right or left, you're like literally just like going everywhere. So you gotta literally like slow down the movement so much. And even then you're still like trying to like flop around with the position. But
okay,
I don't have much to say about it because I've only done it twice. So this
sure.
is like a fun little thing to do.
Okay, yeah, I think I can relate with slacklining. I have a slackline. I haven't set it up in a while, but when people first get on, they're very unstable. Even if you're holding their hand, they're on the slack line. It's a piece of webbing for people that are listening. It's a piece of webbing you suspend between two trees or 2 points, and you tighten it, but it's not like a trampoline tightness. It's usually pretty bouncy and like slack. But a lot of people are falling all over the place. You can see their stabilizer muscles like firing away, even though they're strong people. You'd think, hey, they'd have no problem on this thing, and they're falling all over the place. But I definitely can relate. Um, I guess I want to talk about injuries because recently you posted something that was really cool. It was the amount of injuries per, I think it was like per 1,000 hours of lifting or per 1,000 hours of engaging in an activity, and it was showing which activities were higher risk and which were lower risk across strength sports. And so, what are your thoughts on? Obviously, we're engaging in a similar sport, which falls kind of in the middle, on the middle low end of the injury risk. Why do you think people are still engaging in those higher risk activities, even though they know there's like at I think it was the Icelandic activities, the Nordic lifting, I think it was called, had like 5.6 injuries per year. Why do you think you'd engage in such a high risk sport when the reward is significantly lower as opposed to like
Well,
say bodybuilding?
yeah. Well, so let's talk about the US then. So in the US, we love baseball, we love basketball, we love American football, lacrosse is up there. And if you look at the injury rates, it's just preposterous. Ligament tears, knee tears, concussion rates, obviously with the football. Uh, And it's a cultural thing, really. What do we always see when we turn on the TV with ESPN? It's always football. Um, we pack stadiums with football. There's like the Super Bowl. There's Super Bowl parties. We gather around, eat wings, watch football. Um, and as kids, in communities, they'll have youth programs for like lacrosse, all those sports that we see on TV as well. So, but then we don't emphasize the strengthening part. So it falls by the wayside. We see a lot of those injuries, but it's more of a cultural thing because when people see barbells, they get terrified, right? They'll think of the Ronnie Coleman's, right? They use that as an example. Ronnie Coleman.
Right.
I don't want to be like Ronnie Coleman. I don't want to break my back. I don't want to, it's bad long term, whatever nonsense that they say these days. So yeah, so through research, per 1,000 hours of powerlifting training. So if you're training 1 hour per whatever day, this is like literally like almost 3 or 4 years of you training, and you can only get maybe one tweak because
Right.
it's you controlling the weight. It doesn't matter if most people aren't training to compete. Like you're not like me or Larry Wheels or something. So if you're just training to be in shape, the likelihood of you being injured under a barbell is like astronomically low. If you look at powerlifting compared to football, which is all the way up there, which is literally guaranteed, you're guaranteed a concussion in a football career. Like you're just running into each other. Powerlifting, you're not guaranteed a quad tear. You're not guaranteed a back surgery. You might even strengthen your back if you have a bad back. There's so many more benefits that people don't talk about because, if you show up to a doctor's office with back pain and the doctor asks you, what are your daily activities like? Oh, I lift, oh no, never lift again. Never pick up a weight ever again in your entire life. And what happens? Your back deteriorates even further, right? Doesn't make any sense. So
Right.
yeah, it's a cultural thing.
Okay. So one, I love that you just put yourself on the same floor as Ronnie Coleman and Larry Wheels talking about strength sports. But that's just as an aside. But you're totally right. There are really good cases of people that you wouldn't want to emulate because of their high injury. But when you dig one, like that's at the surface level, right? Oh, okay. So Ronnie Coleman, let's use as an example. Well, what was he doing that was causing that versus what are you doing that are causing your lack of injury? Well, he was training high volume, high weight. Well, that sounds like the worst of both worlds. Whereas what are you doing? You take a prescription of, I'm going to do the right intensity for my body, whether that's weight or volume, doesn't matter which. You're not saying, oh, I'm going to max out my volume and my weight every day and then just kill myself and then use PEDs, performance enhancing drugs, every day to be recovering as fast as possible. But we know there's things that don't recover. Like your PEDs don't recover your joint tissue. They don't recover your ligaments. They can strengthen the ligaments, but once you've worn away, let's say cartilage, it doesn't redeposit new cartilage or new collagen on that joint. So that's a good example. And I mean, you're going to probably be healthy your whole life. Like you want to lift your whole life. I imagine, assuming that you are as religious as you currently have been about your training, I don't imagine or foresee injury that wouldn't allow you to, work around, say, a shoulder tweak or, maybe a slight back tweak. That's usually going to not be, a structural thing. Usually it's a muscle thing that recovers pretty quickly. But I guess that's my take on that side of things. Do you have any injuries that are persisting? Like I mentioned my shoulder that I'm working on.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned the shoulder. I have pretty severe injuries from not from powerlifting though, because everybody thinks I dislocated my shoulder when I was a wrestler.
Okay.
And it kept dislocating, probably like in the double digits. I don't remember the count, but I wanted to wrestle really badly in college. I ended up doing it for a little bit, but I ended up quitting. But yeah, it was the shoulder. I powerlifted with it for a while. I kept it, strengthened and everything, but eventually it just gave out. So I repaired it. It's all fixed up now. Back in September of 2019, I went under for labrum surgery.
Okay.
So it could like be tight in the socket again because it was just like flying everywhere. But yeah, that was basically my worst injury, shoulder dislocations. But coming back from it, all I had to do was adjust my bench press technique. Like you would assume, like people that come back from shoulder surgery will never do anything overhead again. I wanted to. I was like, the first thing I got to do is strengthen my shoulders so I can do some overhead press, some bench press. And like it was painful in the beginning, like trying to find the right bench press technique again. But once I was able to lock the scaps back and down, it was over. My bench press flew up again. So yeah, that's basically my injury history.
So just the shoulder.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Like, congrats on being able to heal that up. Did you do any kind of protocol like peptides or like e-stim or acupuncture on top of the prescribed physical therapy that I'm sure that your doctor, your osteo, what is it? The orthopedic surgeon had you do?
Orthopedic surgeon. Peptides, yeah. Interesting, huh? That isn't that like the thing? I don't even know what those are. That's like you inject those, right?
Yeah, you can take them orally or inject. I'm kind of digging into the research on a bunch of them. That's why I ask. I'm a fanatic of them, I guess you could say. I've been working on my shoulder with them.
Oh, interesting.
And I think it does wonders. That's just my personal opinion, and the research backs it up. But
I haven't done any peptides. I don't. That wasn't something I considered. But like when I woke up from surgery, the first thing they give you is like pain meds, which is like the worst thing ever. But yeah, I didn't take those. But I didn't take any peptides. All I did was physical therapy. The first thing they had to do, since it was like so shut to the socket, they had to obviously like loosen everything back up again. They had to stretch and everything. So that was probably the most painful part of the rehab process.
Sure.
Was like breaking all that scar tissue, because my arm was here, like this is as far as I could raise it. Like I could do this now, obviously.
Right.
Like,
now you can. I've seen you overhead press with some considerable weight.
Yeah. So like I would. Yeah, that was basically it. It was really just no pep. I did I did stim, because the physical therapist there, they decided to put some. And I'm not sure if it really does anything, to be honest. Like I just feel the stimulation, just like the muscles flexing. It probably did help. I'm not entirely sure, but I did that every time I went into PT.
Okay, that's good. And were you? I mean, for my hip, when I had my labrum reattached for my hip, I was religious about going to the pre-ops physical therapy because they were insisting on making sure that the muscles around the joint were really strong. And then post-surgery, obviously I was going in there every time they allowed me to, because I mean, at the time this was post-graduation. So I had a lot of time on my hands. I was on my crutches. So I went in every time. They gave me e-stim for my back because I did herniate a disc on my back. And don't herniate a disc on your back, because that sucks. I will tell you, it's not something that's fun, and it's lingering now for what feels like forever.
Yeah, disc herniations are a tricky one, but you could definitely recover from those.
Oh, like, yeah, no, I'm not going to say you can't. I think that not moving, like you were talking about not moving, and the doctor saying don't lift, whatever, is so bad. I'm pretty close with my chiropractor. He's got a physical therapy component to his business, and he hates when the orthopedic surgeon recommends rest. He gets so frustrated. So he's actually cut off relationships with orthopedic surgeons as a result of that.
Yeah, it's the worst thing you can do. Some people develop frozen shoulder, like just like from my injury, because you're in a sling basically, for about 6 weeks. And obviously, as soon as you get out of it, you want to start moving it again. Some people just don't go to PT because it's too painful, or they just like, all right, I did the surgery, everything's fine, and then they just develop even more issues because they just don't move it. Like it's like like I did an episode about nonsense of the fitness industry.
Sure.
The latest one, everyone go check it out. But I talk about how they don't focus on the long-term success, right? Everybody's like, all right, what can I do in 2 weeks? How can I get shredded in 2 weeks? How can I get bigger arms in, a month or something? When you focus on that, it's like, it's hard to see yourself in like 5 or 6 years. Like you only do it for a month. Like, it's like when you see the gyms pack up in January and you're like, oh, okay, here we go again. Right. And then in March, all right, they're all gone. So there's like the discipline of being able to stick to a routine. And to just stay healthy. You don't even have to do what I'm doing. You just have to, stay healthy. Like especially in today's day and age, man. everybody's like dropping. Like type 2 diabetes gone up, obesity is at 42% of Americans. Um, and yeah, it causes so many other health issues that are prevent like that's I'm pretty sure it's the leading preventable cause of death in the United States.
What,
It's just
obesity?
obesity. Yeah, obesity related illnesses. I think smoking is probably up there. I forgot which one was number one, but it's probably somewhere up there.
That's really what's sad, because the solution for a lot of these things, almost all of them, is moving more, right? Like
Yeah,
you and I can, go on and on about how moving and, how hard is it to hit the gym. I was a guest on another podcast, and we talked about how Joe Rogan had an argument with, or I guess not an argument. He went off on Michaela Peterson, one of his guests, about how she was describing when she was super depressed and couldn't move. And like, he was like, no, you can always move. Like, it doesn't matter how little energy you have the physical energy to move. And I'm split on that. I'm so split on it. Like, I totally get when you're cognitively, like, you're depressed, whatever, but like, movement does solve so many issues, whether it be avoiding frozen shoulder syndrome, whether it be reducing the chances of obesity, making yourself more sensitive to insulin, things like that, being stronger, feeling good about yourself, all those things. Back in, how old are you right now?
I'm 20 years old.
Oh, you're 20?
Yeah.
Oh,
Well, I'll be
sheesh.
21 in about like in a few weeks. So, but I'm still 20.
All right. You have plans to celebrate your 21st? Are you, do you drink at all?
Nah, not really. I mean, that's not my thing.
Well, of course you don't. You're not 21.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
no, I jest. What part of the country are you in? You don't have to tell me the state or anything.
I'm in your state. I'm in New York.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm
Wait,
right
no,
across.
you're not in New York, are you?
I'm in New Jersey, so I'm
Oh,
pretty close
okay.
to you. That's
Oh,
cool.
wait,
So,
I thought you were with like Connor, like because I thought you guys knew. So I thought you guys were like in the Connecticut area.
kind of. I mean, it's a short commute away. I'm in northern Jersey, so I know of Connor. Obviously, through the whole plant medicine business, we've reached out to him and a bunch of other people. Obviously, that's how I got connected with you. That was through Patty Mahoney. So
All
like,
right. Yeah.
all this network of people, I didn't realize we're all in the Northeast area. I thought this was kind of like a nationwide thing. I know there's people now that we've connected with in Texas. There's a whole gym of people that are, buying the Turk out in Texas, which is kind of cool.
It's funny how I didn't ask for your time zone. I just automatically assumed 7 p.m. would be the same time zone. I'm like,
Yep.
okay, yeah, he's probably in the Eastern, area. So I'm like, oh yeah, it's 7 p.m.
Yeah,
It
no,
would have been hilarious
that
if it was
worked
like
out.
different times. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys, Connor, and I guess the rest of his crew. Nick, right?
I only know Connor
Okay,
and Patrick. Really.
okay. Well, what's funny about all of you guys is you guys all have like really awesome home gym setups, and
Yeah, yeah.
like, unless you've got a very home looking, um, you know, commercial gym, you got a pretty dope home setup. But like, you guys all, like, you're working out, you're making incredible gains at a home gym, which is cool to see. So like, there's no excuses, right? Like, you know, what equipment do you have, for example? I think it would be a
Yeah.
good question.
I try to keep it simple. So the home gym it started with just sandbags, uh, because I thought there wouldn't be any space for it. Because if you guys see my garage now, it's like very spacious compared to what it was before. It's literally stuffed with just crap and used stuff. So I thought, I was like, okay, there's no way I could fit a barbell in here. So I just filled up sandbags. I bought some empty sandbags online and filled it up. Went to Home Depot. Sand's literally like, I want to say like $7 for 50 pounds or something. So it was very cheap. So I was throwing around sandbags for a little bit. And then I started to clear out the garage. And then, so I only have plates, barbells, a rack, and a bench, and some stuff to decorate the gym. But that's just the minimal stuff. Yeah.
You're set up for basically squat, bench, dead. Do you have any pads on the floor, like horse stall mats or anything like that?
I need to get horse style mats. I have like these foam mats. Like my deadlifts are starting to wear them away. So
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
yeah, I
But
gotta get those.
you're focused on essentially, powerlifting movements. Do you have any dumbbells or anything like that?
No dumbbell. I just have barbells.
So backtracking a little bit. So proof is in the pudding. For everybody listening who's unmotivated, your setup, a barbell could be a few $100, or it could be the one that's thrown out down the street. You know, the gym bro from back in the day who's throwing it out. Plates can be cheap, they can be expensive. You know, you could, like, I have a really crappy, you know, the 1 inch bars that were, you know, cool back in the 90s and 80s. Back when
Oh, those really thin bars.
yeah, they're 1 or 1.5 inches as opposed to like an ollie bar, which is, I believe it's like a 2 inch collar. But you know, I bought it from this guy in Patterson, I think it was, for $700. I got a pretty much brand new bench, a rack setup that was super sketchy, and enough plates that I could max out my, definitely my bench. Maybe it was pushing it on deadlift. I could probably lift all the weights on deadlift, although the bar might be susceptible to a little bit of bending. But the point being is, with $700, I got enough of a setup that I could at least match your training. Like if you said, hey, I'll write you a plan. Hey, Cameron,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm going to write you a plan based on the equipment I have at my house. You can mirror it. Like I could totally do that. And that kind of eliminates the excuses. Like
definitely.
the sandbags was a beautiful idea. You recently posted something, so that's why I was like, oh yeah, totally, I can relate. You did a 200-pound sandbag hold, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The bear hug.
That was Rogue's challenge back maybe like 4 or 5 months ago. It was harder than I thought it was, because the guy that placed first, I want to say he did like 15 minutes or maybe more, like a long time. I did it for 1 minute and I was dead. Like it's like a 200-pound just trying to hold it. But yeah, I do I rarely do sandbags now, just because I have powerlifting goals now.
Right.
But yeah, that was a fun little challenge that I did.
Yeah, I thought I saw, like you said, it was like 12 minutes, which was just astounding because I know how much 200 pounds is, and sheesh.
Yeah, especially with
I
sand.
bet I could lift that, but I don't know about holding it even for a minute. Like try to match what you did.
Yeah, sand is a funny one, because like it shifts around. It's not as nice as a evenly distributed 200 pounds on a barbell.
Right.
Like I definitely think the sandbag was a lot more difficult. I can equate it to maybe a 300-pound deadlift in straight weight for a barbell. It feels like that.
In
It's
terms
like,
of like how much you were engaged, like posterior chain, your legs,
yeah, because
everything.
if you think about picking a sandbag off, like if you deadlift a barbell off the ground, it's already a few inches off the ground just because of the plates, right?
Right.
Sandbag is literally, you have to dig your fingers under the sandbag. So it's
Right.
literally like
You're not
from,
grabbing it from the side like you would imagine. You're grabbing it underneath,
yeah.
and
Well,
then
for that challenge, I had to do it that way. Like I had to grab it from the middle. But like
okay.
when you're picking it up in regular, like a strongman sandbag loading, you're literally picking it up from the sides, dig one hand under, and then just like load it. But yeah, it's pretty difficult, and the technique is a lot different. You're supposed to round your back, actually. Like,
I was gonna ask about that. Like, why are you supposed to round your back? It looks unhealthy. It looks like it's everything you're not supposed to do. What's the story around that?
I don't round my back with barbell movements, but with unconventional things like stones or like sandbags, I round. The people freak the hell out about it, for rounding back. So rounding back, I go back to Squat University on this. I also had the great opportunity to interview that guy, but he talks to a guy named Stu McGill. I believe that's his name. Do you know who that is?
No, sorry.
Okay,
I'm bad
so
with names. I apologize.
yeah, so he's like he's one of those, like he's like a back doc. I don't even know how to explain. He's a doctor for the back. Like he checks out the spine a lot.
Sure.
So rounding the back is only bad is if you started in a neutral spine position on the deadlift, and then when you start pulling, your back slowly it changes position. Changing position under loaded weight, that's like horrible. But if you start rounded, brace hard, core tight, brace into your belt, and your back stays. So we're talking, okay, rounding only in your upper back, your thoracic.
Yep.
You don't want any lumbar. That's dangerous. Like not any rounding. You want only in your thoracic.
Okay.
So a good example of this is Konstantin Konstantinov, KK Russian. If any of
Yep.
you guys know, he deadlifted 900 without a belt, and he has this very
He's
pronounced.
a monster. Let's be
Yeah,
honest. He's
yeah. Rest
crazy.
in peace, though. He passed away. I
Yeah,
forgot
it
when,
was
but
sad.
yeah, but yeah, he has a very pronounced background. And if you see the way he pulls, he starts with it around the back and locks out with around the back. One of the strongest backs in the world.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and yeah,
So it's the lack of mobility during loading. You're not like a little bit. You're not moving it under load, because that's the struggle I've always had is when I see people, loading up. I work out at a Y. I also have a retro membership, but there's different people at different places, and the YMCA often you get more novice lifters who are trying things that they really shouldn't be necessarily. So one guy, he loads up and does your classic starts strong in a relatively good position, and then slowly caves. Like he's good position, and then it caves, and then he snaps up. And I've talked to him because I'd rather feel like an asshole, and I don't know where you stand on this, but I'd rather feel like an asshole and save somebody's back than feel good about myself for not saying anything and then have him walk out on like either a stretcher or having permanent back pain.
now that's a tricky one too, right?
That's a tough one, right?
Yeah, because for me, I don't tell them because actually, I'm not even sure why I don't. I just now that I think about it, when I see someone lift bad, it's like I could help them, but are they going to listen? Is it worth my time to tell them? Because they might
Sure.
just snap back. Like, what the hell are you talking about? So I try not to bother, but it is good that people out there have hearts and they want to save people's spines.
I just can relate. Like when my it was L3 L4. It might be I actually don't recall. It's either L3 L4 or L4 L5. When that went, that was after some rack pulls because I was I thought I had perfect position. I had a belt on. I was pulling reasonable weight, and then I was like, all right. I walked away. I felt fine, and then I went to bend over to grab my water bottle, and it literally felt like a shark bit my rib cage. Like if I was out on the surfboard and a shark
Wow,
came up and bit my rib cage, that was the exact feeling I'd imagine it would be for a
Jesus.
surfer. Whole left side, shocking pain. And then I stood back up, obviously, because that was a shocking amount of pain. And I was like, okay, that was really bad. I probably did something. And then I went down to actually pick up my water bottle this time. I was like, all right, we got to head home and figure this out. But yeah, I'd rather save somebody's back than save my ego. But obviously, it's different, right? Because you're right. The culture is people will snap back at you and potentially like, F off, man. You don't know what you're talking about. Obviously, you have the strength credentials to back some of these things up, right? Like
Yeah. Well, I don't
you're
like.
you're deadlifting next to him, pulling 400, and he's like struggling with 185 with bad form. Maybe he might respect you a little bit more, but still,
Well, the problem is, I like if I'm not doing that next to him, like if I'm not lifting tremendous weight next to him, I
it's
don't
tough.
look like I can. Like I get that a lot. Like I don't look like I can lift as much as I can. Uh, Especially if I'm wearing like a large t-shirt. Like
Hmm.
I'll typically blend in with an average crowd, and then when they see me lift, like what the heck? Like this guy's putting up this weight. So if I tell someone randomly, "Hey man, try to tighten your back, make it a neutral," they'll be like, "What the hell is this guy talking about?" So yeah, it's kind of a weird thing that I have to deal with.
Yeah, I occasionally post on my personal Instagram of like selfies or whatever, and I posted something on the gram a few weeks back, and my colleagues roasted me. They told me it was Photoshop for like actually 2 weeks straight before I sent them a video the next time I went to the gym. They swear it was Photoshop. I'm like,
Photoshop of what?
my delts and like my biceps and stuff like that. They really thought I
Oh,
had photoshopped my body to like look bigger than I was.
who has time to do that, really?
I know, right? That's what was my argument. I was like, you think I don't have time for you during my workday? They're my coworkers. And it's like, I don't have time for social visits during my workday. You think I have time to sit at home and Photoshop my body, like blow up my delts or whatever? Mind you, it was a little bit just like some really good downlighting, which is just
We're
impeccable.
probably pumped too, though.
Yeah,
Probably had a
it was a pull day. So, I was doing lots of rows and I just, you feel good. You take a little snap and yeah. But yeah, I can totally relate to when you put a larger t-shirt on or you throw a sweatshirt on or you're just wearing regular street clothes. you just disappear. You just melt, and it's like, all
Yeah.
right, cool. I forgot how small I look when I'm not in the gym or wearing gym clothes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have some actual like serious questions.
All right.
Supplementation. Are you taking anything beyond the usual stack that most people take? You know, pre-workout creatine and a little bit of whey protein.
I don't even take that really.
Oh wow.
Like I don't um yeah, it's been over the last time I took anything was creatine. That was 2 years ago. Uh so I haven't taken any supplements because from my standpoint, it's not worth my money really. Like I'll take like I took protein for maybe like 6 months and I was like, what am I doing? This is not even really this is liquid protein. I could eat a steak and like it'll be probably better because it's actual food.
Right.
But I just think it's not worth my money. Like I remember like getting sucked into that, right? Seeing Jay Cutler on the front magazine and seeing him hold his like protein and him just flexing, oh yeah, this is how I got big. And yeah, I got sucked into that and I was like, oh man, I gotta get this stuff. Um, you know, it's good, it's called a supplement for a reason. You supplement good habits, healthy eating, good sleep, and all that other jazz that you have to have, when you want to make some actual progress. Some people replace everything and just like okay, I'm going to take a protein shake. This is how I'm going to get jacked. No, but yeah. So I mean, I don't know if this counts, but I use my, the CBD cream from Whole Plant Medicine.
I appreciate the shout out.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So I use that
that's
for
good.
little aches.
Yeah. So, all right. So, what would be a little ache that you'd use the CBD cream on?
Okay, so I balance two sports. So I powerlift and I do jujitsu as well. So occasionally I'll get the little knees and back is like the big one, right? So I'll use it on my knee, just
Just a little
nice icy
topical
cold.
application.
Yeah, just a little topical. I posted about this as well. I know they shouted me back, but yeah, I'll use it on my knee, or if it was my elbows, sometimes I'll deal with the elbow thing. But yeah,
You
that's
find
what I do.
you find it works?
Yeah, it definitely works. I suggest people to buy it because you know, I interviewed him back on my podcast a while ago, and he talks about his whole process of getting it in the in the bottle of the processing of the product and everything. Completely no BS, very good.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah,
high quality. I use it for my shoulder. I use it for my back. Occasionally, like you said, you on a push day, for example, elbows get a little sore. Throw it on there. Next morning, you feel right as rain. Yeah,
yeah.
I can relate. So, but you're not taking any pre-workout. You doing a do you have a pre-workout routine? If you're not taking a pre-workout powder from the supplement store, are you doing black coffee? What are you doing? What's your
Nothing
secret
really.
sauce?
I just get out there with my bottle of water in the garage and just lift. I don't even lift with music, to be honest. A lot of people ask me why. Like they'll see my videos and it's just like silence. They're like, "What the heck, dude? Why do you have no music?" And I'm like, I don't know. It's just like another thing that I just don't do. But like I'll take electrolytes. Like
Okay.
if it's a particularly grueling training session where I know it's going to be very difficult, I'll if you familiar with noon tabs?
Yes, I think Hafthor Bjornsson was sponsored by them.
Yeah. So I'll just dunk that in my water. I use that during the mock meet because, um, 2 or 3 hours of straight maxing out. So I was like, yeah, I need some potassium, magnesium, all that good stuff.
Yep.
But other than that, the supplements to me is just a waste of money. I don't usually use it.
No, I respect that decision. I know I personally I like that world of I talked about this the other night, is like better living through chemistry. Like I think I have a pretty solid diet. For somebody who doesn't track their diet, a lot of people in the lifting world or the bodybuilding world, they're tracking their macros and they're looking at their micronutrients. They're doing, a what's it called? Uh, it's the
Micros?
pyramid diet, I think it's called. The vertical diet, sorry, vertical
Oh, the
diet. Where,
vertical diet.
yeah, everybody's doing their own diets, and I'm just kind of like intuitively eating, which is its own kind of diet of just like kind of eating what I feel like I need to eat and kind of having a good gauge. But are you following, since you're not doing any kind of like supplementation, do you have a strict diet that you follow?
I actually lied. Supplementation, I don't take the typical muscle building supplements. I'll take
All right, so you're
like
casting the gym supplements out,
yeah.
but health
But like
supplements.
I'll take like vitamin D, very important. I'll take zinc. I'll take magnesium purposely. K2 along with my vitamin D.
Okay.
That's like my main go-to is vitamin D and zinc. Obviously, look at the research, testosterone, vitamin D, good for immune system, especially important during this time, guys. You want, if you want to stay alive, obviously, get stack up your immune system. Also, working out stacks your immune system, so you got to get that going as well. What was your question?
Well, just any of the other supplements you're taking, micronutrients,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
most importantly, your diet. Do you think you have a pretty even diet? Are you following a program or any kind of, macro micro diet?
Uh, Diet wise, if I got like if I know I'm gonna be going for a long period of time without eating, I'll typically add a lot of fats.
Okay.
Um, but the nutrition is basically just for performance. If it's going to be like a squat and deadlift session, particularly with very high volume, I'll eat a lot of carbohydrates before it. It's nothing really special. It's not particularly the healthiest or like the most unhealthiest. I just try to eat as healthy as I can, while maintaining, while having enjoyment with food as well. So it's not anything too strict, but it
Okay.
seems to be working.
So you're not weighing your food or anything like that. I see that as insane, in my opinion.
Weighing food? No, I don't do that. I used to want to, but I was like, nah. I just try to eat my fill. If I'm not as hungry, I don't eat as much. If I'm hungry, I eat more. So
okay. So
yeah.
you're very similar to me. I mean, I'll for example, like I prepped some potatoes before recording this, so those are going to be the carb source. I have some beautiful chicken that I grilled last night, so that'll be my leftovers, and I got some spinach I'll throw on the plate as well as some carrots, and that'll be my dinner. But I know that based on those, I mean, my major categories are covered, and then I've got some micronutrient supplementation I also do on the side. But that's really awesome that there's more of us out there that are just doing this intuitive thing.
Yeah, it's just don't eat the crap like all those like weird vegetable oils, all those like junk food and McDonald's. If you can avoid all that stuff, it doesn't even matter if you're vegan or carnivore or whatever the hell diet you're on. If you're just not eating the processed junk that the typical American is eating, you'll be good. You'll be avoiding a lot of the problems that are, especially with obesity and all the, diabetes and all that stuff. You'll be avoiding a lot of those issues.
No, that's phenomenal. That's good. So I want to ask you, if you started from scratch, if you were back to your pre-lifting, like you didn't know about fitness at all, but you're 20 now,
Yeah.
you're back to scratch. How would you start? You have all your knowledge base, but you just don't have the structure. You don't have any of the, the muscle you've put on or the strength. What would you start with?
Wow. What would I start with? Like in terms of like exercises and stuff, or like
what would be your approach? You want to get back to a healthy you.
I would definitely that's a tough one too. Because like all the mistakes I made are like good in a way. Because like now I know what not to do. But like you said, I have all the knowledge I have now from, but I would just be able to.
So you're not going to have to make all those mistakes again. Now you got a streamlined machine going on.
I would probably like reach out to a coach and just go from there. Cause I did so much like in the beginning of my career, there was so much potential for injury because I maxed out every week. It was just a noob gain. It's okay. I was like, oh yeah, the deadlift last week was okay. I'll just go up 10 pounds and kept doing that. And I was like, wow, I did not get injured. I'm very lucky. So definitely for me, just doing more repetitions, focusing on technique a lot more. To be honest, the beginning of my lifting career was really nothing that bad, to be honest. I don't think I would really change it. I think it was pretty successful.
That's awesome. Yeah, the two things I would change are probably trying to learn more and then potentially looking at a program. Um, like I still don't follow a program. Everything I do is pretty intuitive. Um,
Oh,
which I
okay.
think is okay. You know, like I mentioned my bench, I mentioned my deadlift, and my squat was 365. But that was without lift. I didn't have lifting shoes. I was lifting in like crappy running sneakers.
Oh
You
no,
know,
yeah.
it was a whole mess. But yeah, so that's awesome. I think hearing that, knowing that, like, I don't know, you're on the right track. Like I said, I mean, you're only 20. You got a long career ahead of you. I'm 25. Uh, the other night, I don't know if you've ever had this moment where you're like, how old am I? Shit, wait, 20, so 26? No, 20. Have you ever had that happen? Like, I
Not
didn't
yet,
feel
because
old.
I feel like that's like when you get into like your mid 20s to 30s, you just start to just lose count. Because at
Yeah.
that point, it doesn't really matter. Like people don't really ask you as much, so you just forget as well. Because like
Yeah, there's
when you're a kid, they just ask you all the time. Oh, it's your birthday. When is what? How old are you now? You know, things like that.
for sure. Yeah, there's no benchmarks from here until 30, right? I guess I could rent a car, you know, when I turn 25, but short of that, you know, it's a long road until 30, right? Which is beautiful.
Yeah, well, it's all just take it day by day. It's
Yep,
I'm here for the long run. I'm gonna be that guy when I'm 80. I'm still putting 300 pounds on my back, still squatting. Still deadlifting, still bench pressing, do whatever I can.
that's awesome. Are you studying anything in school?
My current major is health and physical education, so I'll be in the education system.
Okay. Yeah, no, health and education. So you're going to be probably a teacher in like a K through 12 school.
Right? Yeah, yeah. That's currently my goal right now. Uh, if we can implement barbells in a physical education program, that'd be revolutionary. They really did that in Texas.
What school
Why
system's
can't
doing that?
Texas? It's like an elementary school. I found it through Squat University, but they had they had kids with 65, probably even less. It didn't even matter. But the teacher they had the bar unracked. The teacher blew the whistle. They went down and they stopped. Teacher blew the whistle again. They came up. They did that maybe for about 5 or 6 times, and then they racked it. They had spotters and everything. Safety protocols were all good. I'm like, why can't we do that in New York? You know, with all the liability and stuff. But like,
My girlfriend loves to talk about how the school system has many flaws. I won't go as to say as like it's, you know, broken, but I know that she has a grievance that there's many flaws and there's a lot of ways that it could be fixed that seem very intuitive, but nobody seems to be implementing them. And that's one thing that I wish I had started in high school. Was we did do, if we wanted to, you could choose to walk around you know, when we had an indoor day, you could walk around
yeah,
the basketball court, or you could go to the gym area. And I was like, I'll go to the gym area, but I'm a scrawny kid. I don't want to, you know, make a fool of myself. So I'll go on the exercise bike. That's how I'll hide. But if they had forced me to, I think I would be a different person.
yeah. Why? Like, we're looking at a very, very unhealthy population of the new generation of young kids. Especially during the lockdowns. That especially didn't help as well because everybody was just sitting at home. You know, being even more sedentary than usual. So
Yeah,
it's
I
not
mean,
like you have to force them, but like encourage them in a way that it'll be like, if look at this guy. If you want to get there, you gotta start here and promote the long term, right? Because everybody's like, okay, um, I want to buy this iPad. It'll show up at my door 2 days later. Instant gratifications, right? You can't get a 500-pound squat in 2 days. It
nope,
takes years.
nope.
You got to cultivate it. You got to develop your technique, your squat technique. Find what works for you and all that. We got to be able to promote that as well, especially as athletes. Um, try to get a barbell as young as you can for a kid because it's not dangerous. Not maxing out might be dangerous, but like just getting a kid getting used to the barbell movements, and as they develop, you start loading the weights. But if we teach that in schools, we'd have a much healthier generation. If you look at the PE programs back in the 50s, everyone was like shirtless.
I
Everyone
love
was
those videos.
Yeah, everyone was like climbing pegboards. Everyone was doing those those dip bar walks. I don't even know what those are called.
Those even for an athlete are pretty tough nowadays. And you see these guys just juggling along. They're walking
Yeah,
on those things with their hands. But
everyone had abs.
yep,
Like, yeah, it's just like, man,
everyone
what?
had that like movie star physique. That
Right?
Brad Pitt from Fight Club physique, which
Yeah.
is kind of awesome. Do you
Imagine.
find? Do you think that the the school of the barbell, if you will, the going to the gym and like training has taught you any like life lessons?
Life lessons. Yeah, for sure. Because I'm a very negative thinker. Uh, that was another reason I got into all this fitness thing. I had to escape a lot of those negative thoughts. I tried to run from it. Uh, but you tend to realize you have to face them sooner or later, especially during max attempts. The way you think has tremendous effects on how you train, um, especially with the weights and everything. If you have a max attempt and you're thinking, oh man, I might tear my quad there, why the hell would you be thinking about that before a max attempt in the first place? The only thing you should be thinking or strategies that you may be implementing is like visualization. You already thought in your head that you succeeded the rep, and then you go do it in real life. You should be really positively thinking about, okay, I can do this. I've trained for it. My coach has been seeing the progress. I know I can do this. Let's get under the bar. Let's get it done. It's and I was also confidence. I don't know, just building a stronger body makes you more
Yep.
confident as well. More muscles. That's never a bad thing. Uh, Also, the discipline. Yeah, that's a
There
big
we
thing. I
go.
forgot about the
I was
discipline.
waiting for
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
yeah,
there we go.
yeah. Just because if anyone's been following me for the past year, during specific semesters in school, I had to get up at 4:30 a.m. just to get a lift in, just to get the training in, and that requires tremendous discipline. Because maybe like I want to say, out of 10 times that I'm going to be training, maybe maybe 6 or 7 of those times uh I actually want to train. Maybe there's like those 3 training sessions that I'll get up and I'm like, I could just literally go back to sleep and just forget about it. But then, what's to say that you won't do that the next day? You just sleep like 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. And then when you look at it, a month goes by, like, why did I just do that? So being able to get up and just subject yourself to just torture physically, discipline is definitely very important in your life, especially if you want, because the things that I want to pursue in powerlifting, they're not easy. So if it was easy, no, everybody would be doing it.
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah.
The idea that like discipline equals freedom, Jocko Willink philosophy, discipline equals freedom is very true. I know that it's really easy to press the snooze button. Like it's
Yeah.
so tempting, but you're right. I think the gym teaches you that. It also teaches you patience. That's one thing you touched on that like inspired that question.
Oh, right. Yeah,
That
yeah.
if you teach young kids the patience of the barbell, hey, I can lift 135 this week. Next week is not 135 like times 2. It's 135 times 1.1, and you fail on that second rep, and then you fail again on that second rep, and then finally you can do a second rep after weeks, and now you're on to the next weight, and like maybe you see, I mean, now you're at an elite level, or I'd characterize it
I'm
as an
not
elite
really
level.
I'm not really elite, but
All right,
I'm getting there.
all
Like
right,
elite's like really, really good. I'm not there.
but you're to the point where you have to be hyper patient to realize those incremental progresses. Otherwise you're going to reset. You're going to have that injury because you push yourself and you're like, oh, let's PR again, let's throw 10 extra pounds on the bar, and then you're reset. You have a back injury, you have a quad tear or whatever. I mean, even hearing the phrase quad tear, it's kind of scary, but you're right.
Yeah.
There's just so many life lessons with lifting that I know a lot of people are missing out on.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
I like the mentality. I always joke, like when I'm going to the gym, I'm going to war. It's a war with myself because it's super easy to get scared. So like the other day, I was doing incline bench, and I put the hundreds on my knees, and I'm like, this is gonna hurt in a good way, or it's gonna hurt in a bad way. And if I keep this idea that it's gonna hurt in a bad way, it's going to. I'm gonna like let my shoulder slop off to the side, and my wrist is gonna be out of position, and the weight's gonna really, torque my shoulder. But if I think of it as, hey, I'm going to war and I'm going to win, I'm going to kill this weight. I'm going to, it's going to be a battle. I'm going to fight it. And each rep was that same battle over and over again. And then, I knocked out 5, and I was super stoked with myself. Obviously, we're going to have to hit heavier weights next time, or we're going to have to hit more volume, or we're going to have to figure out what's necessary. But it's, I love I'm going to war. Let's, kill it.
Yeah, because if you do all those difficult physical things, the other things that you got to do in life, or they just get so much easier. Getting up to do a presentation on the power in front of your class. What a joke! I just squatted 400 for 20 reps today. This is nothing.
Right.
Like, your outlook on life is much better. Especially people go to the gym for mental health anyway, so it's much better that way.
Yeah. Have you seen the I mean, I hate to say it, but I have seen some TikToks in my life. But there's a TikTok of like, it's like something along the lines of like, why do you go to the gym? And it's like, to get girls or whatever. And then the other guy's like, why I go to the gym? And it's like, you're running away from like, anxiety, pain, depression. And then the other take on that is, like your pre-workout, and it's like these fancy like drinks, the pre-workout drinks. And it's like mine is, again, those same things, those themes of anxiety, depression, fear of failure, things like that. And it's true. Those are life lessons that like, or things that like, scare you to try to accomplish those awesome feats. Like you joke about squatting 400 as like, oh yeah, I squatted 400 for 20 reps. Like, dude, that would be such an accomplishment for so many people, including myself. And so it's really cool to see that, that it's even possible from some dude that throws on a large t-shirt and disappears.
Yeah. That sucks. I should try to get bigger, to be honest, just to get a little bit of respect.
Nah, there's an ego in not having an ego.
Yeah.
It's the idea of the UFC fighter. Have you ever you've heard of people like with the prevalence of UFC fighting, that now everybody should be on their toes when they see a conflict go down at a bar, because you don't know who could kill you with just their hands.
Oh, okay.
Like the idea that like the guy that doesn't look intimidating could potentially have insurmountable power.
Yeah.
Being jacked and big doesn't mean shit anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've seen a lot of those videos. Yeah.
So,
Muscles don't really, especially if you don't know how to fight, muscles really don't mean much.
Yeah, but you're right. It does help the confidence in other things, confidence in presentations. When you fill out the suit, your shoulders are nice and big, and you feel good about yourself. You walk around, shoulders back, chest up. There's the Jordan Peterson idea of, be like the lobster with your shoulders back and your chest up. And that definitely helps, a feedback loop of, positive things happening in your life.
Yeah, that's actually very true. Like I remember like just slouching for the whole day, just feeling like weird. And I'm like, okay, let's try this. And I was like, wow, okay. I feel like I could dominate things now. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a powerful feeling. I want to ask you about your podcast. So you have a podcast, the World of Lifting podcast. You've mentioned a few of your guests, and you said that you're so thankful for the opportunity to be able to have them as guests. How, as a podcaster myself, you have a podcast. How did you get those guests on when they have, from a technical perspective, they do have a large audience already, right? What was the incentive, or what pulled them to be a guest on your podcast?
Just sheer luck, really. Because because if you see Squat University, he has close to 2 million followers. So when I sent him that message on Instagram, my logic was, okay, I'm going to attempt to contact him, but most likely nothing is going to happen. But I'll just send it just in case. And he got back to me within like 30 minutes, and I was like, what the? But he actually saw my message. Because if you think of 2 million followers, just think of the percentages, right? Probably like 1,000 people message him, just randomly,
right,
maybe reacting to a story. So you're thinking, you're thinking like my DM might just get lost in the storm of all those other DMs. But yeah, how I get them is just I message them. I put a little like biography of my podcast. Oh, I talk about strength. I love to interview like big name strength athletes, talk about their perspective on things. And if they say yes, it's great. We schedule it and we go on, record it, we talk about it. And it's a great opportunity just to learn, because especially with Ed Cohen being that guy, because if you that guy doesn't even care about his records. He's just like, those trophies come and go, the records are there, but I just like the relationships I made throughout my whole career. So if someone like that on that legendary status in your sport saying that the records don't matter, you start to look at your own training a little bit differently. Just like, wow, maybe if I can look at perspective wise differently, maybe things will go better. So yeah, it's like a mini lecture in each podcast. You learn very like different backgrounds. Like some people were like drug addicts. Some people, had to, some people were obese. Some people were just, transitioning is a different phase in their life. Some people ended a sport that they thought they were going to be a star in, and then just somehow stumbled in lifting. And, just a whole like, because I've done over 100 of these now. So you get the whole array of different kinds of stories. So, it makes you think a lot differently.
That's really beautiful the way you put that. What was one of your favorite guests that you haven't mentioned so far?
One of my favorite guests,
that you haven't, because you mentioned Ed Cohen, you mentioned a few others. Your stealth favorite guest, if you will.
I gotta circle back. Maybe wait, I gotta look through this list, because there are so many episodes that I've done now that some of them might have just slipped through my head.
Let's not say favorite. Let's say one that pops out to you that has a life lesson that you want to share, or a lesson that you want to share. I don't want to put anybody on blast as a favorite.
Okay, so her name is Danny La Martinez. So she's a doctor of physical therapy. So she talked about one thing. She said the lesson was like not putting all of your eggs in one basket. Like she's like identify all the roles in your life. So you don't like let's say I put all, because that was me. I put all of my eggs in one basket. Powerlifting, freaking jammed this basket. Powerlifting, and then when I got my shoulder surgery, I was like, what am I going to do with life now? Like so he's like, okay, so you got to identify the roles in your life. Okay, so what am I? I'm a son. I'm a brother. I am a grandson. I'm a podcaster. I'm a martial artist. I'm a powerlifter. And powerlifting, oh, I'm injured right now. Okay, but I got all these other things right here that I can focus on. I'm a student. There's so many things that you're going to focus on. So you don't feel like the world is crumbling when one thing goes. You still got some other things that you can do while this shoulder heals up. Maybe I'll focus on researching a little bit more so my podcast episodes are a little bit more quality. So that was more like a lesson on life. It wasn't even about lifting, to be honest. And it was like, it like hit me real hard, because I was like, wow, I used to make that mistake of, putting everything into powerlifting. And it kind of ruined a lot of relationships in my life, like during that time. And I was like, if I can just, expand my tunnel vision, I'll be able to, benefit other things. Because like obsessing over one sport isn't even good anyway. I used to train 7 days a week. I've cut it down to 4 so I can actually think about other things instead of just lifting.
Right.
So yeah, that was one that actually stood out. But I'm pretty sure there's one in there. Like pretty sure all the guests in there are like just like, hey, mine was good too. Like just like
no, see that's why I had to back away. I realized that there's always improvements to make on things, right? And one of the things that I need to work on is improving my question asking ability. Because like as an interviewer, or as a podcaster, I'm trying to work through what style format I'm working on. Like, am I trying to be, hey, I'm asking Allen about his life, or am I asking Allen about, his experience in a wider range of things, or is it about his experience as a podcaster? Like, what am I trying to do with this whole podcast? I'm kind of just interested in things, and the things that I have, I have my own values, health, wealth, and happiness are the key pinnacle parts of my life. And that's kind of what I'm trying to extract out of other people. But you're very focused on the, health and fitness perspective. Some people are, I'm going to be working on trying to get guests about wealth and, on meditation and happiness and other things. But yeah, so I don't want to put anybody, I want to revise it. No, nobody's less important on that podcast, because one thing that I realize is every episode has its own lessons to take away, whether it's lessons that the person is speaking or lessons that you reflect on, right? Oh, I asked the wrong question. Okay, maybe next time I'll slow down. Maybe I'll take a breather. Does there have to be more airspace, or what's it called? Dead air.
Yeah.
A lot of good podcasters are comfortable with dead air, and a lot of uncomfortable or bad podcasters are very uncomfortable with dead air. That's one powerful thing.
Well, if you're more interested, if you bring on you don't just bring on guests just to bring them on, right? Like if I bring someone, I'm actually interested in what they have to say. So the more interested you are in that person's story, it tends to be a better conversation. It flows well. It tends to go off script, which is even better.
Sure.
Because I have something written down for what I'm going to say, but if it goes off, even better. It doesn't even have to go by the script. Like I could just talk about whatever.
Yeah, I mean, when I look at my sheet, it's a pretty crummy set of notes. Oh, a little light glare. Anyhow, it's just notes about like things I wanted to ask, and I've already knocked off more than double what I planned on asking about. But yeah, it's such a cool platform, because I didn't know you were right around the corner. You could have been in LA, you could have been anywhere, and it's cool that you're right around the corner. Maybe I have to treat you to a drink when you turn 21, whether it's water, some Nun Energy, maybe it tastes pre-workout or what have you. But I kind of want to wrap things up by asking you, I guess, a final question. Could you shout out your social medias, any places people that from my podcast that they could find you, things that you're passionate about, or anything along those lines?
Sure. So my Instagram is I have two Instagrams. The personal one where I just post my training. It's Lau Strength, LAU Strength. If you want to go listen to the podcast where I post, just random philosophy stuff with the podcast, World of Lifting Podcast on Instagram. For YouTube, I'm starting to put all of my episodes onto YouTube. It's still a work in progress. There's like 100 million episodes I still have to get over there. But I think it's called World of Lifting, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure if the podcast is in there, but World of Lifting, whatever, it's in there. It's on YouTube. And yeah, that's all my socials right there.
Awesome, man. Yeah, everything will be linked in the description of the video, as well as the podcast episode when it's audio only on Spotify. And dude, I'm so thankful that one, I got to connect with you. Two, that this was a great conversation. And three, knowing that you're right around the corner, maybe we'll link up sometime.
Yeah, well, Connor came over for at United Barbell for that mock meet just to lift with me. So maybe one day you'll come get a lift.
Awesome.
Exchange tips and all that stuff. So
I really look forward to it. Thanks, Allen.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for having me on, man.
Alrighty, have a good one. Bye-bye.